The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord.
The people were filled with expectation, and all were asking in their hearts whether John might be the Christ. John answered them all, saying, I am baptizing you with water, but one mightier than I is coming. I am not worthy to loosen the thongs of his sandals. He will baptize you with the Holy Spirit and fire. After all of the people had been baptized, and Jesus also had been baptized and was praying, heaven was opened, and the Holy Spirit descended upon him in a bodily form like a dove. And a voice came from heaven, You are my beloved Son. With you I am well pleased. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
At the end of World War II, which was a great humiliation for the Japanese people, having lost the war, the Emperor Showa, who his name was Hirohito at the time, had assigned the surrender to Douglas MacArthur, the general at the time. And it was so devastating that he said, I would do anything you tell us. So one of the things that he came up with, and General MacArthur was, I didn't realize this until I found it out at the time, just recently. He was very Catholic. And he believed very much, and he wanted very much to bring the Christian faith to Japan, it was there, but of course not too many people were Christian. And the emperor said, if you wish, I will be baptized. I will be baptized, and then maybe we could even have an edict that everybody should be baptized. And of course, everybody said, no, that's not how baptism works. It's not about doing what you have to do in surrendering. It's about being baptized is about believing and having faith. And as we heard at the end of today's gospel, baptized in the Spirit. Jesus' baptism was a plain baptism of water, and everybody else was doing it with John the Baptist, and so Jesus went as well. It's not Jesus' baptism and our baptism are two things that are totally, totally different. Jesus wasn't baptized into the Catholic faith as all of us were. So I was thinking this week about baptism and this idea of Emperor Hirohito wanting to be baptized, not because he believed, because he didn't, but because he thought that was what the Americans or the Allies would have wanted him to do as part of the surrender. And I was thinking, what is it that we promise when we say our baptismal promises? There's two very special words that we use in our faith. We use them quite often, actually, in different sacraments. Those words are, I do. When I say I do, probably the first thing that comes to your mind is a wedding. And those words in modern day weddings aren't used as much as they used to be, but do you take this person to be your husband or to your wife? I do. You promise to be faithful to this person. I do. When a priest is ordained, a priest or a deacon, the bishop asks him, do you promise obedience to me and my successor? And the priest says, I do. Ha! Ha! I do. Do you promise to be faithful to pray the liturgy of the hours, etc., etc.? And the priest, the newly ordained priest says, I do promise. And then in our baptismal promises, do you promise to reject sin? And we always say what? Do you promise to reject sin? Do you reject sin? You do, but if you did, you wouldn't be coming to confession. Or at the beginning of Mass every time, we wouldn't be having the penitential rite, because we try to reject sin and then to believe everything that preach or profess in the creed, but it's not easy. I do. Do you believe that you are the beloved child of God? Do you? That's what happened at Jesus' baptism. You are my beloved son. You are my beloved son and daughter. And God is saying that to us, not just at the day of our baptism, but every day of our life. And we have to repeat what we say when we say, I do, with resounding I do. It's so important for us to understand this baptism that we received, this gift of faith that we freely received. And those of you who perhaps have chosen your baptism when you were a little bit older or even as an adult, you freely chose it. Most of us were baptized as infants and our parents chose it for us. But we continue to say, I do believe. I do want to reject sin. I do try my best to reject sin. That's not what the baptismal promises say. It doesn't say, do you try your best? No. It says, do you? So spend a little bit of time, if you have, this week before you go out and buy your Easter eggs or your Valentine candy or whatever it is. And spend a little bit of time thinking about what it means to say, I do, to God. Are you saying it to God? And you're also saying it so that you can hear those words as well.